today, and also give you plenty of chances to ask me questions about the program and about the application process. So shall I just go ahead and get started?
Yeah.
All right, great. So let's see. I'm going to start by just giving you a little bit of background on what the McNair program is and and what its role is here at the university. So the McNair program has been with us at the university since 1990. And it is a program funded by the U.S. Department of Education. And it's primarily, its main focus really is to diversify the professoriate. And the way it does that is to encourage and prepare students from underrepresented backgrounds, particularly first-generation college students from low-income households and students from underrepresented ethnic groups. It helps those students and encourages them to apply to PhD programs in whatever field is their field of study. And it also encourages students to go into careers in research and teaching. So we've had the McNair program, like I said, since 1990, and we were one of the, I think there were 14 campuses in the country that were awarded the McNair scholarship. And one of them was UC Berkeley. I think UCLA also had it. And so across the country, there were 14 institutions that had it. And now there are over 150, I think it's actually closer to 180 institutions across the country that have McNair funding. And we're very fortunate that we've managed to secure the funding continuously. We've been getting, every time we apply for the grant, we get 4 or 5 years of funding. And fortunately, we just learned in August, this past summer, that we were funded again for 5 more years. So our grant cycle actually started this month on October 1st. So we're in the first year of a 5-year grant right now. So I want to encourage you all to apply to the program if you're eligible and interested. And I got to say right off the bat that we have very few applicants right now. So even though it's only 10 days, I'll talk about the registration, the application deadline and all that you need to do for it. But the deadline is in 10 days. You have plenty of time to do the application. And, so right now we have only a small number of people who've started their applications. So if you apply and you're eligible, you've got a pretty good shot of getting in. So just to really encourage you to do that. And so let me tell you a little bit more about the McNair program. So we've had it since 1990, and every year we recruit students to apply to the program, and applications are always due in October. And once the applications are in, we will review all the applications. We have 3, possibly 4 staff members here in the Undergraduate Research Hub who will look at all the applications and will then select the cohort, which will be about 35 students. And those students will all meet with me and probably the assistant coordinator of the McNair program, that's Dr. Marie Sheneman. And we'll meet in November. The first thing we'll do is talk about finding a faculty mentor for your research. And the research will start in January. You'll have 2 quarters of research with that faculty mentor. And then in the summer, in the McNair program, you get funded to do your research. So you get what we call a research stipend of $2,800 for 8 weeks. And you also get either free on-campus housing or what we call a housing allowance, which was $2,000 this past summer. And you get a free GRE prep course and a series of workshops, which go from January through the summer research program. And you also, of course, get the most valuable of all is the one-on-one work with a faculty mentor in your chosen field. So I'm going to go to our website. I put the web address of our department in the chat. That's ugresearch.ucsd.edu. for those of you watching the recording. But I'm going to go to that website right now. I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to guide you through, first of all, the URH web pages, and then we'll look at the McNair program, and I'll also talk about the application. So I'll start sharing my screen now. All right, so here we are at the main web page for the Undergraduate Research Hub, or URH. And I want to point out that within our department, we have a number of different research programs. And so everything really that I'm going to talk about, you can find here on the web page. If there's anything else you have questions about, I encourage you to reach out to me or any of the other staff members at URH. So, I'll quickly show you that we have a number of different research programs. If you scroll down, here's McNair Program, Campus for students and for underrepresented students in the sciences and engineering fields. We have some programs that are in the academic year, like McNair is in the academic year. Also, summer research programs, and McNair happens to be one of those programs where we have both academic year and summer research going on. And let's see, so a number of the programs are only summer research programs as well. If you have any questions about the McNair program, of course, feel free to reach out to me. You can schedule a meeting with me. I'm going to go over here to staff and appointments to show you who we have in the department. Our director, Dr. David Artis, is away at a conference right now. He's also the director of the McNair program. Our assistant director, who's also not only the assistant director of the department, is also the assistant director for the McNair program. So we're well staffed. That's Veronica Behar. And we also have, there's me, Kirsten Kang, Sophia Tsai Neri, Daniel Movahed, and all of the people I've mentioned so far, other than the assistant director and director, are all program coordinators. And scrolling down, Beverly Fruto is our heroic executive admin assistant. And we also have some others working in the program. Tessa Yerov is the transfer hub coordinator, and Marie Sheneman, I mentioned, is the assistant coordinator for the McNair program, among other things. So when you go to this web page, you can, for most of us, you'll see a link where it'll say make an appointment. So if you just click on the one for me, you can schedule an appointment with me, 15-minute meeting, which we're not restricted to 15 minutes. It's just the default for the Calendly thing. So, all right. So I'm going to have to, I just have this problem with the header for Zoom where I can't actually see the top of the screen. Let's see if I can hide this thing. All right. Let's see if I can pull this down so I can show you other things. Okay, here we go. That is McNair. Okay, I'm going to go with this and then go back to Undergraduate Research Hub. All right, so going back to our main page, this is where you'll find information on all the programs. I'm also going to talk about things like finding a faculty mentor. You can find that information. You can find a lot of information about that right here under the Students tab, how to pick a research topic, how to find a faculty mentor, how to get a letter of recommendation, the process of applying to our programs. As I mentioned, all this stuff is on the web, and I'm going to go through the information about the McNair program in some detail, but I encourage you also to look into the other programs that we have at URH. So going to the McNair program, first off, let me mention that the application to a deadline is October 23rd, which is a week from Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Now, that is not the absolute final deadline. If you somehow feel like you can't get the application done by then, contact me, and we can accept late applications, but we will start looking at the applications we have in that are received by October 23rd. We'll be looking at them right away. So it's better if you can get it in by the 23rd, but we can also look at it if you get in it later. All right, so the McNair program is, as I mentioned, funded by the U.S. Department of Education, and it's named for Ronald McNair, who was a first-generation college student. He grew up in the segregated South as an African-American and went on to earn a PhD in laser physics from MIT. And he also became an astronaut. He was one of the earliest African-American astronauts. And this program is named in his honor. And it, it reflects his life's mission, which is education and research. And it also provides opportunities for people like him who are first-generation college students and underrepresented. So, as it says here, where the McNair program helps low-income first-generation college students prepare for doctoral study. So a doctoral study is any graduate study leading to the doctorate in a field of study. And there are, even if you just take UC San Diego as an example, there are probably upwards of 40 different doctoral degrees you can get at UC San Diego, and that's not including the medical doctorate or doctorate in pharmacology, so or pharmacy doctorate. So you can get a PhD in virtually any field, and in the McNair program, we admit students in any major and with any interest in research and any interest in going for the PhD in your field. So if you scroll down on here, you'll see that there are tabs or buttons for clicking on how to apply. We'll get to that a little bit later. We also talk about, there's McNair Community. This is where some of our alumni can check in and find out what other alumni are up to, but also you can find out what past students in our program have done. All right, so I'm going to click on this program information, learn more. This is a picture of the astronauts that Dr. Ronald McNair worked with on the Challenger shuttle. And so the program is summarized here. So the benefits of the program, also the kind of the structure of the program is here. So the main thing is that you get to work with a faculty member in one of the departments here at UCSD. And you're probably already aware of the fact that UCSD is a top-tier research institute, and we have world-class researchers in every department at the university. So the opportunity to work with a faculty member is a really great opportunity. And this is one of the, and all the programs within URH have that as a feature, that is we facilitate those kinds of research relationships with faculty members. So in the McNair program, you would get 4 units of independent study credit. That's a 199. That would be with your faculty mentor in both the winter and spring quarters. In fact, you also get that 4 units of credit in the summer research program. And as I mentioned, there's a series of workshops. Those workshops are on things like writing a research paper, how to come up with a research topic, how to create a research project, and how to write a research proposal, how to plan your research project, and including the methodology and collecting the data and everything about research. And we also have workshops on things like how to apply to graduate school, what can you do with a PhD, and what it's like to be in graduate school. So there's a series of workshops that goes from January through the end of the summer research program, which is in the middle of August. And during the summer, as I mentioned, there's a stipend, $2,800 fellowship, on-campus housing, GRE prep course, and then you also get that the 4 units of independent study credit during the summer. So you can get a total of 12 units of independent study credit in the McNair program. And once you're applying to graduate school, some people while they're in the program are applying to graduate schools in the fall and winter. But for the most part, students who are admitted to the McNair program are planning to apply later on. But after you're in the McNair program, or when you're in the McNair program, you can also get application fee waivers at the majority of graduate schools that students are applying to. And these are, again, top tier graduate schools where you can, as a McNair scholar, have the fee waived for applying to those graduate programs. You also, and this is something that benefits everybody who's in a program at URH, but it's especially so for McNair scholars. You would qualify to apply for travel funding to go to conferences that aren't at UCSD. So for example, I just had a student who was in the summer research program in McNair email me a few days ago and say, my abstract was accepted for a presentation at the Southern California Conference on Undergraduate Research, which is going to be held at Pepperdine University in Malibu in next month. And so she's going to apply for conference travel funding to cover the cost of registration and travel to the conference and back. You can also get conference travel funding to go to conferences elsewhere around the country. So that's the program in a nutshell. That's what the program entails. I'll go into a little more detail about what you'll be doing in the winter and spring quarters in a moment. But what you'll be required to do is to work as a research assistant with your faculty mentor. And the work requirements are an average of 10 hours a week during the winter and spring quarters. And so it's pretty much like any other 4-unit course where you're going to be spending some dedicated time working on your research project, writing your research proposal, meeting with your faculty mentor, and also implementing your research. And then in the summer, we're asking you to do 30 hours a week or more during those 8 weeks. And that's on top of the other things you are required to do in the summer research program, which include things like attending weekly seminars and workshops, also meeting with your mentor, preferably once a week during the summer. It also involves things like writing your research paper and presenting at a conference. So yes, in the winter quarter, you'll be writing a research proposal. And then in the spring quarter and during the summer, you're writing a full-on research paper. And most students in the McNair program in the summer will continue with the same mentor they had in the winter and spring, and they'll continue on that same research project. So you effectively have from the beginning of January and winter quarter through the middle of August to plan and conduct your research study, write your research proposal and paper, and present your research at a minimum of 2 research conferences. Those conferences are, first of all, the required one in the spring is traditionally it was the Faculty Mentor Symposium, which was a poster presentation generally held at the Price Center Ballroom. But during the pandemic, we've had that be an online symposium. Hopefully this coming spring, we'll be able to hold that in person again. And then in the summer, everyone who's in the summer research program is required to present at the Summer Research Conference, which is the largest conference that URH puts on during the year. We put on a number of different conferences during the year, including one that's specifically for students in the humanities, arts, and social sciences. We also do a spring quarter conference traditionally at the faculty club. And we also have the summer research conference, which the last few years we've had upwards of 400 students from UC San Diego and also other universities presenting their research. And finally, under program requirements, you see you have to attend a series of program events in the winter, spring, and summer quarters. And those events are are usually going to be monthly seminars on things like writing a research proposal. One of them is on stress reduction and time management. You've got a panel usually of graduate students talking about how to apply to graduate school and what it's like to be a graduate student, and so on. So that is a rundown of what you will be doing in the McNair program. And I'm going to now go on to go back to the main page for McNair here. And let's see. I just want to point out that this photo here is from this past spring. I think it was in April when, and you may recognize this room if you've been there. It's the forum room, which is on the 4th floor at the Price Center. And this is mostly these are students who are in the current cohort of the McNair program back in the spring. We also, though, had a guest speaker who is Dr. Dimitri Young, who's right here. Dr. Young gave a keynote presentation, and he is now a professor at UC San Francisco in psychiatry. He was a McNair scholar back in 2005. He was actually one of the first McNair scholars I met. He had been in the program the year before I was brought on board as the McNair program coordinator, and now he is teaching at UC San Francisco. So, all right. So now I'm going to.
Tom, can I interrupt you really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Are we supposed to be seeing folks on your screen? We only see the application process page. So you might be only sharing, like, you might not be sharing your whole browser, so we're only seeing.
Oh, okay. I'll change it so I'm sharing. Okay, let's see here. Yeah. Let me just share my desktop then. Yeah, I don't. Okay, thanks for pointing that out, Stephanie. I didn't realize that was happening. So I'm going to just share screen here, and that way, is that showing the? Yes,
that we can see.
Okay, great. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. So now I'm going to go to the how to apply part of the web page. Oh, actually, yeah. There we go. So. Let's see, let's talk a little bit about the eligibility requirements. In order to be in the McNair program, you have to be a junior or a senior at UC San Diego. And that would be, you might be a sophomore right now, but if you have junior standing as of the beginning of winter quarter 2023, you would be eligible on based on class standing. So you have to be a junior or senior to be in the program. You should have at least a 3.0 grade point average. Now that is not a really strict requirement. We do have students in the program sometimes who are admitted with less than a 3.0. So if your GPA is under 3.0, don't let that stop you from applying. You also should have an interest in pursuing a PhD. That's much more important actually than your GPA. You should be a US citizen or permanent resident. And by the way, there are programs at URH that do not require that you being a citizen or permanent resident. So if you're interested in that, then that's also available. And let's see, for McNair, as I mentioned, you should be a first-generation college student who is low income or a member of a group underrepresented in graduate study. And that's federally defined as being African-American, Alaska Native, American Indian, Chicano, or Latino. So these are federally defined categories. And you can, of course, also be eligible based on both of those two broad categories. And that actually will help your chances of admission. Okay, let's see. I'm trying again to move the screen down here so I can show you other parts of it. I don't know why that top of that top scroll bar, doesn't disappear for me. But anyway, so here we have, I'm going to go back to the application process, which I think is over here. Well, Okay, sorry, folks. Let's see. A little bit of navigation difficulty here. All right, I'll just open another page up. And this is how McNair program is here. And I'm going to go down, scroll down to how to apply. This is the picture I was showing earlier when maybe you couldn't see it. Then this is Dimitri Young right here and some of our students from that cohort last spring. So I'm clicking again on how to apply. All right, so yeah, just to mention additional requirements, you must be a full-time student during the winter and spring quarters while you're in the McNair program. And it's important to note too that during the summer program, you cannot work for pay or take classes other than the 199 independent study course. So if you have to take courses in the summer, that would be incompatible with being in any of our summer research programs. All right, so the application itself involves an online application, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And one of the things you'll need is a copy of your transcripts. If you're an incoming transfer student, you would just provide a copy of your previous school's transcripts. So it also involves a personal statement, which is part of the online application, and that's going to be a brief essay, 750 words or less, where you will talk about why you're applying the McNair program. And if you're going to apply, please do look at this. Really, what we're looking for is an indication that you are interested in pursuing research. So if you know what kind of research you want to do, that's great. You should write about that. If you don't know quite what research you want to do, just tell us that you're interested in a particular field of study and that you want to do research. If you know that you want to go for a PhD, tell us that in your essay. And talk about how being in the McNair program will help you attain your educational and career goals. So there's a personal statement and also the letter of recommendation. And as I mentioned, the deadline is in 10 days, but you do have time to apply. If you are going to start an application now, I would say the first thing to do is identify somebody who you want to have write your letter of recommendation, contact them and tell them you're applying the McNair program, and ask them if they would write you a letter of recommendation. On our web page, and I can go back to show you again, but on the main web page for URH, under the Students tab, there is some guidance on asking for a letter of recommendation. So if that's intimidating for you, I suggest you go to that and look and see what recommendations we have for asking for that letter of recommendation. So for the McNair program, it's preferred that you get a letter from a faculty member or a professor, that is, who knows you and who knows your academic potential, although the letter writer doesn't have to be a professor. So again, if you don't have that letter writer who's a professor, don't let that stop you. And if you are a transfer student just transferring in this quarter, this is your first quarter at UCSD, it's most likely you'd get your letter from somebody at your previous institution. So that's also great. Again, though, contact that person as soon as you can and ask if they'll write you a letter, and so they'll have a heads up. And when you do that, once you go into the application, I'll show you that in a little bit, there's a way to indicate who it is you're getting the letter from. You put their email address in and their name. And when you save your application, it automatically sends an email to that person with a form for submitting a letter of recommendation on your behalf. So that is the first thing to do once you know you're going to apply. All right, so as this says, the McNair application is now open. The thing to do is to click here. I don't know if it's going to let me actually do it. So you would have to sign on with your single sign-on as a student. Here I'm already signed in as an administrator, so I'm going to go in and pretend I'm a student who's applying the program. All right, so this is what the application page looks like once you sign in. And this is for Undergraduate Research Hub, which is the department I'm in. When you go to the main application page, the first thing you'll see is actually the general application. So I want to emphasize that the McNair application is actually a two-part application, as is the application for all of our programs in URH involves the general application. And then once you've completed the general application, you can complete the specific application for the program that you're applying to or the programs you're applying to. And this one, as you can see here, it indicates that I've already completed the general application. I put in a mock application so that I could get to this point and show you this application. But you'll need to do the general application. And once you've done that, then you can apply to the McNair program. All right, so then you'll come to this page and you'll say, okay, here's, actually, this is actually the general application. I'm going to go in and see if I can, okay, here we go. All right, it says that I've got this one going. Okay, I'm going to click. I've saved the application previously, so I'm going in to complete it. All of these things here are general application. I can go back up here, but I'm just scrolling down to see if I have the McNair specific application down here at the bottom, which I should. Wow, okay. Okay. All right. Should be showing me the McNair application, and I'm not seeing it. Okay.
Yeah, I had the same problem as well.
Are you logged in also, Stephanie?
No, it's Megan, but I did also try doing this as well. And when I was taking me to the McNair application, and it just kept taking me to like the undergraduate general application.
Okay. Did you get to the point of submitting the general application?
Yeah.
Huh, okay. This may be, okay, I'll have to address this to our people who run the Academic Works website, because that may be something that's wrong with the website. Yes.
I thought that we had to schedule an appointment with you in order to receive the application at first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's, yeah, my apologies. That, yeah, I didn't know the website was doing this. So, let's see if I do this, if it'll show me. Okay, it doesn't have all the stuff in there. Okay, so I think the thing to do here, I'm going to have to contact the administrator of this website, but I think if I go into and go in as an admin, because I want to show you the questions that are involved with that. See if I can do that. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going in as an admin. So this shows you the McNair specific part of that. And the first thing is that you'll, as I mentioned, you'll be submitting information about your letter of recommendation writer. So after you've contacted that person and they say, yes, I'll write your letter, then the next thing to do is go into the McNair application and put their information here. This is where that goes. So you would put your faculty recommender's name, department, and also their email address. So then once you've done that, save your application. And when you save the application, it'll send that email to the person who's writing your letter, and that'll give them the form and also give the instructions for submitting the application, the recommendation, I'm sorry. All right, so also in the McNair application is this personal statement part. And here is where in 750 words or less, you state your purpose in applying to the program, and also your research interests, experience, educational goals, and career objectives. So with this one, I recommend that you put it in a word processor and keep it to 750 words or less, edit it in the word processor, have somebody else look at it and make sure that there aren't any typos or that it all makes sense. And then when you've got that all together, then copy and paste that into the window in the application before you save it and submit it. There's also a question about how did you hear about this application? Let's see here. So, all right, now it's not even scrolling down. There we go. Okay, so I guess that's it. There should be a question here though. And this is important, and I don't see, weird that I'm not seeing it. Okay. Okay, that's it. So there's the question, which asks you about your prospective faculty mentor. It's hard to read here, probably, for those of you looking at this remotely, but this question is labeled McNair Prospective Faculty Mentor. I'm going to go into that question so I can show you the text of it. So the question text is, if you're admitted to the program, you will next need to secure a faculty mentor. So within the next several weeks, really you need to have a mentor by the time the winter quarter starts. And so once you're admitted to the McNair program, if you don't already have a mentor, that's the first thing we'll be doing, is looking for a faculty mentor. And so your research will begin in January at the beginning of the winter quarter. So it's recommended that you begin thinking about a prospective faculty mentor before you are admitted, so that you can kind of hit the ground running once you're admitted. So if you are considering any professors as possible faculty mentors for your McNair program research, the question is, which professors are you considering? And please tell us why you're considering each of these professors. One name per line, please. So if you're not considering any particular faculty as prospective mentors, you may simply write NA or not applicable. So here is, this is very important. And if you are applying to the McNair program, what we want to know is whether or not you've thought about who you'd want to work with. You do not have to have a faculty mentor going into the program. And in fact, the vast majority of people who get into the program do not have a faculty mentor. So we do want to know though whether or not you've been thinking about what faculty member you want to work with. And the way to go about doing this, if you don't already have an idea of who you'd want to work with, is to explore the web pages, and also think about what faculty members you might know or who've taught classes you've had in your field of study. So say if you're a sociology major, you can go to the sociology web page. Same with any other major, you can go to that web page for your department and click on the faculty listings, and those faculty listings will have, for each faculty member, will have a page where the faculty member will talk about their research interests, and they usually will have some recent publications listed there. And that way, scrolling through there, you can go, oh yeah, this is some research I'm interested in. And I suggest you jot down some of the names of the professors you're thinking about, and then you can kind of narrow it down and write down what aspects of their research, or why is it you're thinking about working with them. It might even be that they taught a class you had and they talked about some of the research they were doing, or you just like that professor and you like the research they're doing. That is also a perfectly good reason to consider having somebody as your mentor. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and just kind of move to a Q&A here, so we can, if you have any questions. I see that Megan has a question. So Megan, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and just ask your question, that'd be great.
Yeah, thank you for such a great presentation. I feel like I have a much clearer understanding on how the application is going to be run. I did run into trouble already with trying to apply to the application, as we saw earlier. But I had two questions. One of them was when we start applying, we can send, is it a template for the letter of recommendation that they will get, or is it kind of like just put their email and then they'll get whatever they get?
What they get is an email that says, Megan has asked you for a letter of recommendation, and please log in here and submit your letter. So they'll have two things. One is actually a form that asks them, what department they're in, what's their email address, and what's the name of the student that they're writing the letter for. And then there's one question on there which just asks them to rate the applicant on a scale, and that'll be something like, it goes from, I think, below average to above average, and then and there are percentiles listed there. So they'll say, well, this student's in the top 5% of all students I've known, that kind of thing. So they do that rating, and then the letter is a separate thing where usually what they'll do is they'll send us a Word document or a PDF that'll have their letter and their own departmental letterhead and so on, and they'll submit that, they'll upload that. So that's what that is.
Thank you. I did see that there was, that it didn't have to be a professor, is that right?
That's right, yeah. And Megan, I presume though, since you weren't able to see the McNair application, that you haven't been able to have that email sent. So if you want to, tell the letter writer that there's this problem with the web page, but they can also just submit the letter to me by email. And yeah, so and oftentimes that's what the faculty will do instead of uploading it. Sometimes they'll just here's the letter, they'll just email it to me. So they can email it to tkbrown@ucsd.edu. And when that letter is generated, when that email is generated to them, it should say that the deadline is October 23rd. But just if you want to just tell your letter writer to send it to me by email, that's fine too.
Okay, thank you so much. And then my follow-up question was in regards to the type of research. So I have a couple interests already in mind, which is psychology and disability advocacy. So let's say that I did put those interests in mind, but I was trying to contact faculty, but none of them really were able to get back to me in time. Would I still be able to work with someone in that field?
Absolutely, yeah. And this is actually, this comes up a lot when students are admitted to the program and they start contacting professors. Sometimes they won't hear back from them right away, and sometimes the second time contacting them works. And sometimes, and I'll always offer, if the professor is not being responsive, or if you would rather have me contact the professor on your behalf, I'm happy to do that too. But yeah, when you're applying, really what we want to know is whether you thought about it. And so that's the most important thing at this point. And it's great that you're starting to reach out to professors already. And you can even mention that in your applications. Like, yeah, I'm reaching out to these professors, and these are people I'd want to work with.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Brown.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions? All right, well, thanks everybody for being here for this session. And again, I really encourage you, if you're thinking about applying, to go ahead and apply. And if you have any other questions, or you want to meet with me in person, that's great too.
Could you remind us where your office is at again, Tom?
Oh yeah, thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, so I'm in URH, which is in the lower floor of Student Center B. And so if a lot of people don't know where that is. So we're at the corner essentially of Gilman Drive and Mandeville Lane. And Mandeville Lane is the one that has that loop on it where the shuttle turns around. It's also very close to the Mandeville Auditorium and the Art of Espresso coffee cart. Yeah, that's the most exciting feature of this area is the Art of Espresso. Yeah, we also have there's a restaurant which keeps changing names now, but yeah, the Underbelly restaurant, I think it is now. So yeah, we're close to that too.
And I have one follow-up question. Since most of our students are second year or sophomore standing, um, with the exception of a few that are junior standing, when do you recommend students get started on this for next year if they're interested in applying?
Great question. Yeah. So when you are going to be going into your junior year, so our applications are always due in October, and they open up in September. So it's never too early to start thinking about what faculty you might want to work with or what kind of research you might want to be doing. So, but the application is relatively, I mean, there's not a lot to it, but the first thing to do is really probably to start thinking about what kind of thing you'd want to do in the McNair program, and then just be ready to start the application in late September.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's see. Are we? There's a question here. If you are a second year but have junior standing, yes, you are eligible. Yeah, you just need to have junior standing by the start of winter quarter 2023, or the year that you're going to be in the program. So.
Sounds good. Thank you, Tom. And y'all, I encourage you to reach out to Tom, visit him in person or email him. He's more than available. I mean, even being here to showcase and explain step by step what this process is like, we really appreciate it, Tom. Thank you.
You're quite welcome. And thanks for being here. And thanks for having me, Stephanie.
Of course.